and Brad went on to earn his PhD at the University of Connecticut. Debra has a book of poetry out that we have for sale in the shop, News of Home, which is part of what she'll be reading from today.
Should we stand? Prefer we stand? Let's keep it informal. Okay. First, I want to thank Tom and the Thora Society for inviting us to give this presentation as part of the, what is it called again? Not the authors. Festival of Authors.
When I was being sort of beat up in graduate school as a writer, it was Thora that I remembered who himself said, a living dog is better than a dead lion. And I kept telling myself this when, of course, one gets held up, the examples that are held up for Yeats, Shakespeare. I actually started being outdoors, and it was a wonderful experience that had to happen for me over time. And partly that experience brought me back to Thora.
As you who read these pages, who are said to live in New England, something about your condition, especially your outward condition, or circumstances in this world, in this town, what it is, whether it is necessary that it be as bad as it is, whether it cannot be improved as well as not. I have traveled a good deal in Concord, and everywhere, in shops and offices and fields, the inhabitants have appeared to me to be doing penance in 1,000 remarkable ways.
Curiel. Perched on the blue spruce, one crow, blue-black, eyeing the expansive yard, is taking inventory. Below, one squirrel, one woodchuck, one bluebird. Today, perhaps, it's the simple act of counting that serves as reward. Its toes clench as it sinks on its heels. There's one squirrel, one woodchuck, one bluebird. Refuse it the solid ground of your open-hand Chenho discovered, and a sparrow can't take flight, unlike the one squirrel, one woodchuck, one bluebird. I stand by a third-floor window, days and days, saying not one word, opaque and shrunken like noonday shadow of one squirrel, one woodchuck, one bluebird.
Time is but the stream I go a-fishing in. I drink at it, but while I drink, I see the sandy bottom and detect how shallow it is. Its thin current slides away, but eternity remains. I would drink deeper, fish in the sky, whose bottom is pebbly with stars. I cannot count one. I know not the first letter of the alphabet. I have always been regretting that I was not as wise as the day I was born. The intellect is a cleaver. It discerns and rifts its way into the secret of things. I do not wish to be any more busy with my hands than is necessary. My head is hands and feet. I feel all my best faculties concentrated in it. My instinct tells me that my head is an organ for burrowing, as some creatures use their snout and forepaws, and with it I would mine and burrow my way through these hills. I think that the richest vein is somewhere hereabouts, so by the divining rod and thin rising vapors I judge, and here I will begin to mine.
Fishing the sky. Through the lens of time-lapse photography, I picture the moon blinking off sleep. All month I've been waiting. When the sun hesitates on a mountain peak, I stand on my porch to watch it draw the night behind it like a shade. The lights from the town below me come on, a false dawn. Last month I imagined one of my neighbor's cows kicking mulish heels as the full moon rose. I imagined myself trailing my fingers through light solid as water, casting lines falling in graceful arcs, at home in the bowl of the dipper, the lap of the great bear. Tonight the sky is overcast. I can't see my own hand. Darkness is tangible as the porch rail under my hand. I can almost believe if I stood on the rail and leaned my full weight into the night, like the wind at Hallelujah, darkness would hold me. Without the bear, I can't measure my way to the North Star. For all I know, I could be on a ship's deck at sea. From where I stand, the stars I cannot see grow cold, indifferent, and white. Satellite dishes pan the sky like beacons. If I cup my ears with my hands, I can almost hear their motors hum. Because it was February and cool, and though I knew in stopping I'd passed on the chance to take the test that spells arrival, for the first time in a long time, I was out there, watchful and still, until they returned to the nowhere out of which they came.
I long ago lost a hound, a bay horse, and a turtle dove, and am still on their trail. Many are the travelers I have spoken concerning them, describing their tracks and what calls they answered to. I have met one or two who have heard the hound and the tramp of the horse, and even seen the dove disappear behind a cloud, and they seemed as anxious to recover them as if they had lost them themselves. To anticipate not the sunrise and the dawn merely, but, if possible, nature herself. How many mornings, summer and winter, before yet any neighbor was stirring about his business, have I been about mine? No doubt many of my townsmen have met me returning from this enterprise, farmers starting for Boston in the twilight, or wood choppers going to their work. It is true, I never assisted the sun materially in his rising, but doubt not it was of the last importance only to be present at it.
What am I to make of that moment between us, the handshake we parted with, now numbered among my losses?
The simplest and most lumpish fungus has a peculiar interest to us, compared with a mere mass of earth, because it is so obviously organic and related to ourselves, however mute. It is the expression of an idea, growth according to a law, matter not dormant, not raw, but inspired, appropriated by spirit. If I take up a handful of earth, however separately interesting the particles may be, their relation to one another appears to be that of mere juxtaposition merely. I might have thrown them together thus, but the humblest fungus betrays a life akin to my own. It is a successful poem in its kind. There is suggested something superior to any particle of matter in the idea or mind which uses and arranges the particles.
Ordinary moons. At bedtime, the child says, "Father, tell me a story." The father calls on Q-tips, a bar of soap, spiders, water gurgling, and so on. In the living room, the wife draws a light bulb out of the heel of a sock, then with her darning needle weaves to lock the thread. She takes a shirt from her basket to sew on a button. "Do me a favor," she says, as the husband enters the room. "Hand me the blue thread." In their bed, they hug, kiss, and so on. "How like the eye of a needle you sometimes are," she says, and he, "You defy fingering. You are a panpipe, or Jupiter's moons, or maybe," and so on. Tomorrow's full moon is the numbered button God lights with his finger, a sign the almanac tells them to sew on. In a month, the seeds will have sprouted. They'll work in the garden bearing fish heads, weeding, thinning, mulching, and so on. A story, Twain said, is one damn thing after another. But life is only one thing. In full sun, a writer pairs like nails or apple skin, and so on.
I see where the downy woodpecker has worked lately by the chips of bark and rotten wood scattered over the snow, though I rarely see him in the winter. Once today, however, I hear his sharp voice, even like a woodchuck's. Also, I have occasionally seen where a flock of goldfinches in the morning has settled on a hemlock's top, by the snow strewn with scales, literally blackened or darkened with them for a rod. And now, about the hill in front of Smith's, I see where the quails have run along the roadside and can count the number of the bevy better than if I saw them.
Catchwork of Selvage, October. In the stone circle at Bright Hill Farm, a light breeze brushes, lifts this hand, as up ahead Luke's tail skirts the corn stubble's open ground. When the lights were dimmed in the auditorium, her face the one moon, her eyes stones for a moment as the car sped on in the storm. Baker Farm seemed so desolate after a week on the road, air-chilled, not one bird, but still listening, the wind shaking off the dust of travel. The cat stroking doorway, counters corners, ankle open hand, undoing each angled edge with its own sleek precisions. When you enter that place, trees, the body yours and not yours, are one breath, inhaled by the wind before squirrel squawk, small bird chatter, the particular sound rain makes against leaves, and are glad to be here. Bare branches, whispers, green shade, and now trees in their showy dress. Oh, Margaret, how ride this moment to its crest if heat didn't recede? Crumbling under turning wheels, brown leaves, a few yellow leaves, but from this high window, blue, a dazzle of trees, a drizzle of leaves. I'm putting on my top hat, and, dear heart, walking the talk. Struck in the same spot over and over, the fixed target, so you move, and in moving are moved toward a clarifying stillness, then away again. It's all a balancing act, snow, showers, drought, frost, or call it the endless cycles of waxing and waning heat. Wherever it is, cricket finds the warmest spot to stretch full length in. Did it mark the sparrow's flight, this squirrel raiding the feeder? Striking out alone, lost on a poorly marked trail,